I always start from the place that we may not be in power, but that does not mean that we are powerless. That does not mean that there aren't things that we can do. And, what you have just laid out so well is that we are losing our free speech rights, and this is a toxic mix of losing our rights and corruption that is playing out right in front of us. I mean, Brandon Carr said specifically, I think he said today, Trump's election gave us the permission structure. He used that language. It gave us the permission structure to do these things. And they laid it out with this, as you said, sort of anodyne language that sounded like nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. But yet they are methodically going through the steps of taking away people's rights to say what they think, people and organizations' rights to say what they think, even if it, offends the high and mighty. And that is the very dangerous spot that we're in right now. And it's not going to get better. We're not at the end of this road. So I was glad to see those protesters out in California today. And, this is a call to action for us, because the way that you stop authoritarians like this is by not trying to appease them, but by holding them accountable and speaking out and saying, no, we are not powerless in this moment.
Senator, let's talk about that call to action, because today there was a bicameral effort, meaning members of the House, members of the U.S. Senate, presenting a plan forward, additional legal protections for individuals who are targeted by this administration. I want you to talk us through how that might work, and then also talk to us about whether or not you can take some of those principles and apply them to left-leaning groups that, as you said, are being targeted.
Yep. So what we did today, a bicameral group of senators, we said freedom of speech is sacrosanct. It is our most precious right. And what we need to do is to put into law language that will stop the federal government from taking away those free speech rights. And it would give additional tools to individuals that and organizations that are being unfairly targeted or attacked by agents of the federal government, including the President of the United States. That's exactly what we see right now. And of course, these rights are enshrined in the Constitution, yet it turns out that individuals or organizations that are attacked in this way by the federal government don't have nearly the tools that they need in order to be able to fight back. Think about, my colleague Adam Schiff, who's being attacked for, so-called mortgage fraud. He's having to raise so much money to defend himself. Think about the threats of taking a nonprofit organization and the president unilaterally declaring them to be a domestic terrorist organization. We need to have better tools in place for organizations to fight back against that than we have today. That is the idea of this legislation.
So, Senator, what are some of the specific tools that you all present? Because I think a lot of people watching are saying, but no, as you said, this is in the Constitution. So now we need legislation for what's in the Constitution. So what are the tools that are going to undergird what I thought was a codified right, is the freedom of speech in this country?
Well, I mean, I am with you on that, and it tells us where we are in this country right now, that we would have to further define in law what people's rights are, as already defined by the Constitution and by the Bill of Rights. And so let's just take one example. If the federal government comes after you and accuses you, they're targeting you, not because of some law that you've broken, but because you are running counter to their ideology or the politics of the president, it's very difficult for you to get the evidence that the agency, federal agency, the FCC, for example, is acting in because of political motivations, because that isn't really available to you. So we want to make it so that you can get access to that evidence, so that you can try your case. We're not trying to, in the case where the federal government is doing like this kind of crazy ass stuff, we need to be able to give people who are under attack better tools in order to fight back. And that's what this is about.